As this film says, don't let time take you. You take time. Time is only valuable when I give it to you. So thank you both so much for giving your time today.
Oh my God, thank you.
Wow, that was amazing.
Yeah,
That
you're,
really hit me.
I can't believe you're quoting poetry from our movie. Thank you.
I'm ready, Preston. If you want to just quote some stuff, I'm in. I will be snapping.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've got the legendary Anubis and Ra.
There's no one here, Ra. It's just us.
Have you forgotten where we are? What kind of crazy, dope magic happens in this city every day?
$15. In this economy, do you know what I can buy with $15?
I was so like equally touched by everyone's moments in here and how you guys went about bringing them all together. How did you not give everyone a hug after filming their moments? Because that's my impulse as a viewer, to reach through the screen and give them that, because I felt like by the end of this I was on the limo with everybody else.
That is beautiful, and we did not. Jeez, I'm gonna give you all the double negatives in the world. We did not give everyone a hug after the end of every scene. I think that's what I love the most out of this movie, that we were actually all hugging throughout the filming process. And that's really the spirit of what summertime is. It's like a bunch of like really talented, really thoughtful people sharing extremely personal and vulnerable experiences. And this community of artists is just fantastic. So we knew that this was going to require that level of intimacy and that level of commitment. And not most of them, the poets had never been in front of a professional movie camera. They had never written, they had never starred on a movie. So there was a lot of hugging involved, and there was a lot of poets that weren't shooting would still show up on set and would be, snapping off camera for their fellow poets, and we would all be hanging out, and they would all be workshopping their pieces together and rehearsing their pieces with each other behind the camera. So it really was this like really beautiful community effort. And I think it's what makes the movie special, and I think it shines through, and I think like that's really why the movie just feels like a big family doing a creative piece. So I'm very happy to hear that it translates.
Poetry has always been in my veins, especially, thanks to my freshman high school teacher. It's taught me to slow down, take a breath, observe my surroundings. And I love that this film leans into that. There's so much truth spoken here. Like there's so many, like I could go back and watch it again and again and pick out different things I may have missed. I wonder how hearing these stories, obviously you read them, there's the relationship from that, or the arc of that, and then shooting it and then watching it. I'm curious how bringing like even the visual life to these poems has impacted how you perceive the world now.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can probably both we probably each have a specific answer. For me, it's we made this movie together, and it's brought me close to this community of young artists that I really respect and I really look up to in a way that has been really meaningful to me, and it's really changed me. Seeing this movie, like we workshopped this movie from nothing over a summer period, then filmed it, and even after filming we were still working on this together. And now that we're going into the promotion and now we're going into the release, we're still working with the poets. We're still very much like treating this as a creative collaboration. So at least for me, it's been one of the most meaningful experiences of my life, and getting to work so closely with this group of people has really changed me. So yeah, Kelly, I don't know. I mean, I we've talked about it, so I do know, but what you want to share about your experience with the poets / their poetry?
Yeah. It's kind of wild. Carlos and I went through this sort of poetry boot camp the past few months, and we had the privilege of learning poetry from a lot of the poets that are involved in the film. And I think that I underestimated how much I would be impacted by just existing in the same space as all of these incredible artists who are just so aware of the importance of the intention behind what they're saying and the intention in which they interact with each other and support each other. And it is, Carlos and I have sort of talked about it being a little bit of, it feels like we're, in this little community that we wish the way in which the poets support each other and show up for each other is what I wish the world was like. It's been such a beautiful healing experience, and yeah, greatly affected. And I think that summertime is such a beautiful, sort of window into their lives.
Yeah, that's really great. There's two things that I thought about a lot as I was watching this, because I'm a bit of a, I like to break things down, especially after I watch them a few times, which I have taken the chance to do with this film. Is because I'm impacted by the words that are spoken here, but also the poetry of the visual language as well, and how you guys go about, there's, even when the words are not spoken, there's something going on there that, and you have to like continue to navigate that. And I'm curious about your process in navigating that, and even the transitions of going from moment to moment, because that's a bit of a subtle art as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was a real challenge, and like the rest of the movie, it required a dialogue between myself and our filmmaking crew and the poets, just because each of them has sort of like a very particular way that they approach the poetry with. They have a very particular, like each scene has a different tone, a different style. The poet's personality, we tried as best as we could to incorporate the poet's personality into their segments. So every single scene that we shot sort of like required us to like really rethink the way that we were approaching the movie. So when we're working with Tyrus, he communicates a certain way. He has a certain sort of style and aesthetic. And when we're working with the red dress scene, for example, that has its own language, and that really unlocked a bunch of creative possibilities for us. So the movie, just like the final product, I feel like the process of putting it together was really a journey. And every single day we were shooting in a new neighborhood. Every single day we were shooting with a different group of people, a different cast, and every single day required different tools and different parts of our personality. So it was really refreshing, and I really got to go on this journey through LA, through these neighborhoods, meeting all of these people, and I hope that that's what people get out of it. They really feel like they go on a journey from west to east, and are constantly surprised by all these stories.
So one of the most beautiful elements of the film, or aspects of the film, is, what is home to you? And so I'm curious, like, how your definition of home has changed. All those little beautiful details that are spoken here, like the 4 a.m. ticks of your mama's footprints, like that hit really hard. And so was there a specific moment of spoken dialogue that you just found yourself latching onto, that had you going down this rabbit hole of thought, of memories that you have of what home is to you and how it has changed over the years?
That's a beautiful question. Also, I love that you're just quoting so many things I love, and I appreciate you deeply. I think for me, just the way that, a lot of and Carlos, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that a lot of the scenes that you're seeing in between the poetry are just people in Los Angeles. I think something that really touched me about summertime was the idea that, here were 27 young artists really making their debut. Like they weren't actors. They were just really raw, and then everyone else in the film were people that live and exist in LA. There was a casting team that specifically looks for people in communal spaces, in malls and on streets. And I think there's something really beautiful about highlighting what the world really looks like.
Yeah.
We all live in this world where a lot of the entertainment we're seeing is sort of this really planned, really meticulously, almost, I don't want to say robotic, but it's all controlled by capitalism, right? Like, what is selling? What is the product that historically people have been buying? And that's not what summertime is. And I think for me, that's what I want home to be. I want it to just be real and authentic, and what is actually existing in the world, and not what historically people have told me is an ideal of beauty that is just completely misinformed. So yeah.
Beautifully answered. Carlos?
I was so engrossed by your answer, Kelly, I forgot the question.
Yeah,
Well,
like how your definition of home is.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think through the poets, because yes, all of them talk about home. The movie is about their relationship to their city, to Los Angeles, but obviously their relationship to this idea of home is very unique to each of them, and is very different. Some of them have a more complicated relationship with the idea of home. Some of them have a very nostalgic relationship with the idea of home. But I feel like ultimately what the movie does is that all of these imperfections that we normally try to avoid, or that we normally try to shy away from, the poets really embrace them and really celebrate them, and really open themselves up to talking about them in a way that is so healthy and so beautiful. So whether, and I feel like the idea of home is just a vehicle to talking about them. Like a lot of them come from homes that are not traditional, homes that, like, a few of them like grew up without a home, without a house. And they've made a home out of their situation, and they've really made beautiful art out of all their difficulties and all these layers, and they've created their own home out of all these elements. So this idea that we have the power to do that, and this idea that regardless of our background and regardless of our experience, we have the tools to create work and art and connections that are meaningful, are important. It's really changed me and like the way I think about everything. So I think I gave you a really long-winded answer that I don't even know if that answered your question, but it's really my experience with poems.
Yeah. No, you answered it beautifully. As we wrap up, there's a moment toward the end, a very magical moment where, it's just people, a group of strangers, and then one of them says, heading towards the clouds, pocket full of dreams. And so we've had moments like this throughout this whole past year, when we're in quarantine, and then, I would see my neighbor across the street, and we do like these, waves or something to kind of interact with each other. When we were celebrating first responders, you see those videos of people just doing stuff outside. It's just like all these magical moments with strangers. And I'm curious if the last moment that you've had something like that, where you got to enjoy and celebrate a moment amongst strangers.
I love this question, Preston. Celebrating amongst strangers. Carlos, what do you got?
I mean, I think for me, my experience at summertime is a group of strangers from really different backgrounds, very different communities, entirely different ways of life coming together at a point, at a place in time, and then sharing what we have in common. that's what the poets do, and that's what poetry is all about, and this sense of community and this here like being here for each other. So the last 2 years of my life have been that with the poets. They've really given a whole new meaning to what I understood as community, and what I've understood as art, and what I've understood about sort of like our social responsibility. So to me, the experience of summertime has been that. And the way Kelly has come onto it, it's really just been this like really magical, surprising unfolding of events.
That was a beautiful answer. I'm so glad you went before me, because I was just going to talk about this person at Starbucks I saw this morning.
Dodgers game.
But no, I agree. I think that I, came onto this after summertime was already finished, and I feel very much now involved in this community. But in the beginning, it was essentially a group of strangers to me, and they were so welcoming and open. And I feel like the summertime experience has changed my perspective of the world, really, in the most beautiful way. So I'm going to piggyback on Carlos's answer, and I'll tell you the Starbucks story another time.
Okay. All right. I'll hold that. We'll be
Collaborating.
Yeah. Well, guys, this was so great, so wonderful. I'm gonna go fly now, and I'll see you on the clouds someday.
Thank you so much, Preston.
That's Preston.
Such a pleasure talking to you, and thank you so much.
Maybe we're not even depressed. Maybe we just hungry.